Happy Wednesday, and welcome into the PHNX Sun Devils show, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading that Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Make sure you visit CircleK.com for details. I am Anthony Totri, joined, as always, by Captain Redbeard behind the Mac, making all of the magic happen. Senor Rubis was out late partying because the Phoenix Suns got their dub, so he is not on today's program, but don't worry, he'll be back tomorrow. Make sure you hit that like button, you hit the subscribe button, and you drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. Ric Flair in the chat, open it up with, woo, what's up, boys? Jason Brown is the guy that I'm going to be looking at during spring ball. He's definitely got a chance to join the Four Horsemen, getting things started off fast here on the PHNX Sun Devils show. We're going to be diving into 10 players that you need to keep an eye out for during Arizona State's spring football, which starts, guys, in 20 days from now. The boys are going to be back hitting the field. Going to be a lot of fun. We got some names to keep an eye on. Also going to be talking a little bit about Bobby Hurley and the Sun Devils. Obviously a rough final score last night in Tucson, but the Sun Devils are locked into that number 15 seed in the Big 12 tournament. So we are going to see potential matchups from the Devils and so much more. So grab a snack, grab a drink, buckle up, and let's talk Sun Devils. Everett in the chat saying, good to see you, brother. Perfect time to take you on a run with me. Let's get it. Absolutely love to hear it. Captain Redbeard, before we get into everything as it relates to Sun Devil football and Bobby Ball, you had the night to sleep on it, just a few short hours, right? We were in here late last night doing a post-game show. Check that out if you missed it. You feeling any type of way about, the end of the basketball season before we get into spring football? Are you as excited about spring football as I am, or are you just a Bobby believer all the way through and you want to run it back with basketball?
I'm excited for spring football, but I'm looking forward to them beating Tech in their last game. They're going to make a run in the tournament. I'm calling it here right now. They're doing it with a banged up lineup. It's going to be, just like ASU football had their story. We're going to have a basketball story.
I mean, that would be one hell of a story.
It would be.
Do you think it would be more? It actually would be. It would be more impressive. I feel like if Bobby Hurley somehow was able to get the Sun Devils to win the Big 12 tournament, that would be potentially more impressive than what Arizona State football did this season.
I think it could be. It's a close one, but I think so.
It's very, very close, which, again, I guess crazier things have happened for Arizona State. But let's get into it. With spring football 20 days away, who are some names to keep an eye out for during those spring practices? It feels like every single year for Arizona State football, there's a couple of guys that maybe didn't have the greatest season in the world the year prior. Maybe they're new transfers. Maybe they're high school guys that end up progressing and developing and showing real promise during spring ball. And usually they make that leap heading into the season, right? So who are the guys this year that can take a Cam Skattebo-like jump, can take a Jordyn Tyson-like jump for the Sun Devils? Well, I want to start on the offensive line for Arizona State, and I want to go with a guy named Ben Coleman. Ben Coleman, a friend of the program. We've had him on here before. A guy that was really a staple and a cornerstone of this offensive line last year for Arizona State. Played the guard position. He's a guy that has experience beyond that, though. Can he play center? Potentially. Could he play tackle? Potentially. We know what he could do at that guard spot. And with Lee Fautanu no longer at Arizona State, out of eligibility, obviously hoping and wishing the best for him in his next journey at the NFL, Ben Coleman's got to be that guy. Ben Coleman has to step into either the starting center position or a true leadership role along the Arizona State offensive line. And the reason he has to do that, right, is because there are so many guys returning to this Arizona State offensive line. Leaf no longer here, but somebody has to be the guy moving forward up front in the trenches. Could it be a Mad Max? Could it be a Kyle Scott? Could maybe a Sean Na elevate himself into this conversation? I think potentially. But none of these guys have the experience at this level that Ben Coleman does. Ben Coleman obviously played at Cal some time ago before transferring to Arizona State. His first year here, he dealt with injuries, was able to recover and have a really, really good season in 2024. I think Ben Coleman has the potential to be the best offensive lineman, on this Arizona State roster heading into 2025, which is saying a lot for a group that has the capability of returning 4 starters if they so choose to do so, as opposed to maybe potentially, like we said, elevating a Sean Na, maybe starting some of those younger guys up front as well. But Ben Coleman, I feel like, is a great name to start with. Everett in the chat saying Mateer is going to be massive next year. Shimon Mateer, obviously the tight end for Arizona State, a guy that was second team, I believe, all conference for the Sun Devils this past season at the tight end position. He is not on my list. I want to kind of clarify a little bit this list. There are guys that can make the jump. You're going to see on this list some names that had really, really good seasons, but still need to take a jump based off of either what they did last season, based off their position, based off of expectations, etc. So you won't see Shimon on this list. I think Shimon and the rest of that tight end room, I think they're pretty set. I am excited for what they can do. I think they can take that next step. I think they can make a leap. I think Shimon certainly could be a tight end to fight for that first team all-conference in the Big 12 next season, but that is certainly not my expectation. My expectation, though, is Ben Coleman makes that jump along the offensive line to that starting center spot potentially and really takes over and helps a guy like Sam Leavitt and the rest of this offensive line do what they need to do. Flipping to the defensive side of the ball for our second guy to keep an eye out for during Arizona State spring practices. That is none other than Myles Rowser, Myles Ghost Rowser, if you will, listed as a DB. Kind of shifts all over the place. Plays safety. He can be on the back end in the secondary. He can creep up, play that linebacker spot. They can send him off the edge a little bit on some blitzes. This kid was marvelous for Arizona State in 2024, which for me was maybe one of the bigger surprises of last year, right? And I think there were a number of them, obviously, for this team. But Myles Rowser, think about going into last season, the depth that Arizona State had at the safety spot, or the depth that everybody thought they had. You had Xavion Alford, which a lot of people knew he was going to be the quote-unquote guy at that safety spot. Originally, you had Shamari Simmons in the back end with X at safety. You had Kamari Wilson transfer over from Florida. You had Myles Rowser. You had Montana Warren. You had Kyan McDonald. You had a ton of guys at that safety spot. And I said it last spring, I felt like you were going to get a healthy rotation. And when Arizona State needed Shamari to move down and play nickel, it took a guy out of the rotation at safety. And Xavion Alford, he did his part. He stepped up. I think there were questions. Was Myles Rowser going to be able to do it? Was he going to be able to play this many snaps at this position at this level? He surpassed expectations. Not only did he surpass expectations, but I feel like he grew as a player right in front of our eyes last year. From maybe wearing his heart on his sleeve a little bit too much after the whistle, right? Being a little too passionate, having plays go on a little bit too often after the fact. Maybe some personal foul penalties. Was able to really clean those up at the end of the season. And I think he can take that next step. He could take that leap and be what Xavion Alford was for this team last year. Because Kenny said it, you're going to need new guys. You're going to need new guys on this team, on this roster to step up and fill the void left by a Cam Scadaboo, left by a Leaf Fautanu, left by a Shamari Simmons. But it can't be the same vocal leaders necessarily as last year. X can't be the guy pregame giving those pregame speeches. It's got to be other guys if you want to continue to build this culture. And Myles Rowser, I think, has that capability. I think he can be that vocal leader for this team. That's why he's more so on this list for me, is I think Myles Rowser, in terms of what he does athletically on this field for the Arizona State defense, I think he's going to continue to do that by far. I think he's going to be one of the best players on this defense this season. But I want to see him make that next step. I want to see him be a leader in the back end with Xavion Alford. Because you know what's scarier than one badass safety? Two badass safeties. And Arizona State has them. You're returning them both. Okay? There was a lot of conversation in the offseason about Arizona State. Were they in play for the Branch brothers? Right? One obviously being a wide receiver, one being a safety. And you knew that the one that was a safety wanted playing time. Well, I said it a number of times. I'm like, well, they're probably, I mean, first off, Kenny doesn't promise playing time to anybody. But second of all, you're going to have to earn that spot. You're returning 2 starters at this spot. Roll the dice, go with your guy. And that's what I feel like Kenny and company did. They're backing their guys at that safety spot. X is X. I'm excited to see what Myles Rowser does in 2025 for this Arizona State roster. Guys, as we're going through this list, let me know in the chat if there's any names that you guys feel like maybe you're personally looking out for, maybe some names that maybe I missed, guys that you're just excited to see in 2025, spring ball, etc. Let me know in the comments. Make sure you hit that like button too, and make sure you are subscribed to PHNX Sports. Always doing a ton of content here on YouTube, on the fast channels, on all of the things. Okay, make sure you're subscribed. We will have a PHNX Sun Devils post-game show on Saturday for Arizona State basketball going up against Texas Tech, last game of the regular season, potentially Bobby Hurley's last regular season game, point blank, period. Also got a big, fun 24-hour announcement. We've got the date. We're going to lock that in, and we are going to announce it on social media here in the next couple of days, so make sure you give us a follow over at PHNX_Sun Devils. But wanting to continue this list, heading back to the offensive side of the ball, let's go to the wide receiver position and give me Malik McClain, the Penn State transfer, a guy who came up big for Arizona State a number of times in the postseason, specifically in that Big 12 championship game when Arizona State was first without Jordyn Tyson. People going into that game, remember, you didn't have your number one wideout, your guy that was playing as good as any wide receiver in college football at the time. He was done. He was out. He was injured. He was having surgery. You needed another guy to step up. And guess what? All season long, it was Jordyn Tyson at the wide receiver position. Xavier Guillory, well, he had his moments. Melquan Stovall, he had his moments. Shimon Mateer had his moments. But you needed a guy to go out there and be the guy. Because Iowa State knew you were going to turn and hand it to 4 the entire game. And guess what? It didn't really matter whether they knew it or not. But you still needed a guy to come up and have those big-time moments. And Malik McClain, again, a guy who transferred from Penn State. What were the expectations? Well, this is a big dude about the size of Troy O'Meara. He can run fast. He's a good route runner. He can high point the ball. Why isn't he playing? Well, last year, obviously, or I guess I shouldn't say obviously, but maybe some playbook issues, fully taking on the playbook at Arizona State. Well, you could let him fully grasp the playbook, let some of the older guys out there, and then Malik heading into this year would be a real contributor on this team. Malik McClain, I really, really want to see take that next step. Truly be what he can be. Because you have a number of wide receivers at Arizona State now that you have expectations for. Jordyn Tyson, the expectation is for him to be a top 3 wide receiver in college football, a late first-round pick next season. That's the expectation now. The expectation is Jalen Moss from Fresno State is a guy on this team. I believe he's got NFL potential, but you have expectations for him that he is going to be a number 2, number 3 wide receiver that really contributes to this team. Potentially more than you got from Xavier Guillory, Melquan Stovall, potentially, right? You got a Jaron Hamilton from Alabama. You got Chance from Clemson. You got a Zechariah Sample. You got a Derek Eusebio. You got a number of players that are coming back that have entered that have come from the transfer portal, right? Malik McClain was on this team last year. Not a ton of veteran wide receivers back at Arizona State that played in big-time moments the way Malik McClain did. He's big. He's fast. He's got the playbook down. He's got another year with Sam Leavitt. I want to see it. I want to see it come to fruition. In all honesty, I love all these wide receivers that Arizona State added in the transfer portal. I really do. I think they are going to make waves. I think Jaron Hamilton's going to be fun. I think Jalen Moss is going to be fun. I think the rest of the guys have the potential to be great players. But there's just something about Malik McClain that screams X factor to me. A guy of that size, with that speed, with the ability to high point a ball like that. I think he can be a difference maker, and he could be a real playmaker outside the numbers for Arizona State in 2025. Spring ball is where you're going to start to see that jump. So the first three players that we have, Ben Coleman along the offensive line, potentially the starting center for Arizona State moving forward. Myles Rowser in the back end. Can you be that vocal leader that Arizona State is going to need in 2025? And then Malik McClain. Well, Xavier Guillory's gone. Melquan Soval's gone. Cam Scadaboo's gone. Give me another playmaker for Sam Leavitt and company. Malik McClain could be that guy. Let me know what you think so far. Still 7 names, 7 Arizona State Sun Devils that we're going to be adding to our watch list with spring football starting in just about 20 days. Like I said, let me know in the comments if there's any names that you feel like I'm missing out, any guys particular that you are ready to see in the next 20 days, maybe when the season starts. We're 178 days from kickoff. Did you know that, Captain Redbeard? 178 days till Arizona State kicks off against NAU.
Doesn't sound too long.
No, it doesn't. But really, we're gonna hit June, and those 100, however many days, is gonna be like, oh, is it time yet? Is it time for Kenny Ball to start? I'm so accustomed to saying Bobby Ball, and I don't like it. So Kenny Ball, maybe what we're moving on to. I'm ready for some Kenny Ball. I'm ready for Kenny's Cookout. That's potential segment idea coming soon. Okay. PHNX Sun Devils. Guys, look, PHNX Sun Devils show will continue after this quick break. Guys, I don't know if you know this here, but everybody at PHNX usually brings their own lunch. Or they go buy it, right? And so I stopped in today at about 11 o'clock this morning, and I go straight into the marketing office. Max, Connor, and what do I see? I see boxes upon boxes of Spanato's pizza. That's right, at 11 o'clock in the morning. Still breakfast time. That's how good Spanato's pizza is. You can have it for breakfast. You can have it for lunch. You can have it for dinner. Heck, you can have it for dessert. It's that dang good. Look, Spanato's Pizzeria is the place, too, if you are Suns fans. Shout out the Suns for getting a dub last night over the Clippers. Spanato's, they're hosting official watch parties throughout the season, okay, where you can watch the game with the Phoenix Suns dancers and the Gorilla. Make sure you stop by for your chance to win free Suns tickets, gift certificates, and of course, more exciting prizes. Mark your calendars, Suns fans. The excitement starts at Spanato's. Get all the info on the watch parties and, of course, pizza basketball contest over at SpanatosPizzeria.com. Spanato's, the official pizza of the Phoenix Suns. Now, look, for me, it's sometimes tough to stay asleep throughout the entire night, right? Sometimes there is light that breaks in. But thankfully, our friends over at All Pro Shades, they got me covered. They got you guys covered as well. You can extend your outdoor living space with a custom fit awning, hundreds of designs and colors to choose from to match any home. Motorized and retract with a remote control, all with LED lighting to light up your patio under the awning. I am a big fan of the LED lighting. Just kind of spices things up, sets the mood, sets the vibe for everything that you guys need. And look, they've been in business for 20 years in the Valley, started making window shades by hand for friends and family in Phoenix, and now they are one of the largest installers of patio roll-down shades and motorized awnings in the Valley. Absolutely love that story. Guys, make sure you call 623-204-1476 or visit allproshadeconcepts.com now to schedule your free estimate. Also, I feel like it's a great time to remind everybody to become a PHNX diehard with spring football right around the corner. Going to have a lot more exclusive diehard only interviews and content on that front And you're going to get access to it when you become a PHNX diehard. You're going to get access to the diehard Discord. You're going to get exclusive diehard only content. You're getting 20% off merch, 20% off events, and a free t-shirt or hat every single year. Make sure you head to gophnx.com and prove your fanhood by becoming a PHNX diehard today. I love it. Mitch in the chat saying, are there any of this last recruiting class that have a chance to start? That's a good question. I don't know if there's any that have a chance to start right off the bat, just because there are so many guys that are coming back from last season. I think, and I said this maybe a little over a week ago at this point when we were talking about spring football, I'm really, really high on the young DBs that Arizona State has, Tony Lewis and Kuba, Chris Johnson, Rodney Bimage. I think you could potentially see some of those guys really, really get their snaps up this season. I'm curious to see who ends up playing that nickel corner spot. Could it be one of those guys? Could it maybe be Montana Warren, who you saw in the first half of the college football playoff game, potentially? Not a part of this class, but a part of Keith Abney's class. So I don't know if any of those guys are going to realistically start, but I think you will start to see them heavily mixed into the rotation more than you saw last year. Just, again, based off the fact that you have a number of guys returning, but you also do have guys on some maybe key positions that just simply ran out of eligibility. So we will see. Again, spring football just 20 days away. I can barely keep the excitement in. Keeping on with our list, heading back to the defensive side of the ball, let's talk Jordan Crook. Jordan Crook, for me, is one of the most interesting players on this team. And it's almost because of the position that he is in. And I don't mean linebacker specifically. I mean where he fits in terms of the depth chart. Because you look back to last season, and what was this defense at the linebacker spot? Well, you had Cyrus Fiaseu, the transfer from San Diego State. You had Keyshawn Elliott, the transfer from New Mexico. And then you had Jordan Crook transferring over from Arkansas. On top of the fact that Tate Romney was here, he had a solid season the year prior. You had a Caleb McCullough who really shocked people with what he produced for the Sun Devils last year. Like, there's just so much, right? There was so much talent, so much depth. Where did Jordan Crook fit in, right? He made his mark. He maybe didn't play as much as I expected him to. Maybe he didn't play as much as he expected to. But being a part of that healthy linebacker rotation, I think sets him up really, really nicely heading into this season, right? I still expect there to be a healthy rotation between Crook, Kashawn, and Cyrus, and probably Tate as well. But at the end of the day, Jordan Crook, he's the only one of these guys that came from the SEC, came from Arkansas. And I know he didn't play a ton in the SEC, but he's used to that pedigree. I think he gave you some phenomenal plays last season. He played crucial minutes for the Sun Devils in the postseason. And I think he can do that this year. Except I think he could do it even better. I think Jordan Crook's the type of linebacker that can be a 3-down linebacker. The same way that people evaluate running backs for that. Are you a 3rd-down running back? Are you a goal line running back? Are you a 3-down bell cow? Right? I think you look to Arizona State's linebacker room, and Kashawn Elliott's a 3-down linebacker. Big dude, fast, can play in coverage, great in run defense. Cyrus Fiaseu, maybe a little bit smaller. I still think he can be a 3-down linebacker. And Jordan Crook can be a 3-down linebacker. He didn't have to be that last year because of the depth, but there's no longer a Caleb McCullough. You're going to get to a midway point in the season, and guess what? Injuries happen. Knock on wood, I hope everybody stays healthy. But injuries happen. Jordan Crook will at some point be asked to be a key contributor on the defensive side of the ball, potentially sooner rather than later for Arizona State next year. I think he's got the capacity to do that. And I think one thing that I really want to see Jordan Crook add to his game that we didn't really see last year, maybe because of play calling, maybe because of system, is I want to see him develop a little bit of a pass rush. And I know that's difficult for a linebacker, right? Your only opportunities to really do that are when blitzes are called for you. Well, guess what? I think Brian Ward loves to blitz. And if he doesn't love to blitz, he loves to show blitz. He loves to create the idea of chaos, right? Well, when you get your opportunities, and there will be opportunities, I want to see Jordan Crook capitalize on that, right? I don't want to see a 3rd and 8 turn into Jordan Crook rushing the passer and either a first down for the opposition or no sack. Those are the types of plays that you need to make heading into this year. If you want to go back to the college football playoff, those are the difference. Those are the difference-making plays that can send you back, that can have you be a back-to-back champion in this conference. And I think Jordan Crook is certainly capable of doing that, and I'm excited to see him out here in spring, just 20 days from now, because I think he is going to be one of the benefactors of this weight training program and really changing his body for the better heading into this next season. Not that he needed to, but I think adding some weight, adding 10, 15 pounds of muscle makes a difference, right? You saw it with Scat, him, and what he was able to do, losing a little bit of weight. You saw what guys like a Clayton Smith were able to do, getting bigger, adding weight over the offseason. I think Jordan Crook is a really, really fun player to keep an eye on. Sharon in the chat saying, do you think ASU is going to jump on the bandwagon of canceling the spring game? What do you think, Captain Redbeard?
I have no idea. It doesn't seem like they would. You know, they've always seemed like they've taken spring games and training, anything outside of the regular season, pretty seriously.
Yeah.
Especially now with Rossini here. So I would assume they would not cancel it. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm with you on that. I don't think Arizona State is going to cancel their spring game by any means. Given the way that Kenny has spoke about the importance of the community, speaking about getting everybody to activate the Valley, I think you have to keep the spring game, right? It kind of goes against the idea of activating the Valley by canceling the spring game, by saying, you know what, we love our fans, but we are not going to have fans able to come see the team before the season starts. I don't like that idea. I understand why some programs do it, but I just don't think it fits the mold and the culture of what Kenny is trying to do here, internally and really with the fan base as well. Like, people want to look at it, right? And the coaches have their reasons for canceling these games. But think about it from a player perspective, right? You practice for a month after an amazing season you had last year. The fan base is excited to see you. They've heard all about this. They've kept up with the media. They've kept up with, of course, the PHNX Sun Devils show, so they know who's hot, who's not. They know which players are starting to turn into studs. And after a month of hearing about it, they want to go see it. They want to go sit in Sun Devil Stadium or Mountain America Stadium, and they want to watch it. They want to watch Sam Leavitt. They want to watch Jordyn Tyson. They want to watch Kanye Udo. They want to watch Xavion Alford. And you know the best part of the spring game is when it's over and all of the fans are able to get autographs and take pictures. That's the type of stuff that activates the Valley. And that's why I don't think Arizona State will cancel the spring game, because those are the types of things that build fandom, right? There are people that are going to go watch Sam Leavitt and Jordyn Tyson ball out in the spring game potentially and say, you know what, man, let's get season tickets. Let's make sure we're at that opener, right? Because we had so much fun here today. This program needs that, especially with what they did last season. You could build off of that hype, off of that momentum, and I think they will do that. So no, Sharon, I do not think that they will cancel their spring game. Everett doubling down there, saying I can't see Kenny doing that. Cactus Johnny in the chat talking a little ASU hoops. We will get there. I promise we will talk Bobby Ball and ASU basketball in just a bit. But next player on the list to keep an eye out for, Montana Warren, a defensive back for Arizona State, traditionally a safety, but he did play nickel in the first half of that college football playoff game against Texas. And I felt like for a guy who had never started a college football game at the nickel corner position, he did the most that he could do in the first half, right? True sophomore, the brightest lights that any of these guys realistically have ever been under. And he maybe didn't ball out. Maybe he didn't, he wasn't Cam Chancellor at the safety spot. Maybe he wasn't like a premier nickel corner, but he was serviceable. and I mentioned it a little bit ago, is there is now a need. Who is going to start at nickel? Because Cole Martin's gone. He transferred to UCLA. Obviously, wish him the best. Shamari's headed to the league. Who's starting there? Because Keith and Xavion are still outside on the perimeter. Are you putting maybe a guy like a Kyan McDonald? Are you moving him down from safety? Are you maybe going to mess around with Myles Rowser, put him at nickel? What are you going to do? Well, I think Montana makes the most sense. I think he is the right size for it. I think with the eligibility that he has left, I think the next few seasons could be huge for him at that spot. He could be a lockdown guy there. And I think he had the ability to learn and watch Shamari do it last year. I think spring ball is where he is going to make that jump. And I think out of everybody that I've mentioned so far, a Jordan Crook, a Malik McClain, a Myles Rowser, a Ben Coleman, I think Montana Warren is maybe the one that I'm most excited to see thus far. Simply because of the importance of the position. Think about it. Think about this for a second. If you at your job were a part of a team, and some of you are, think about a team of 11 people. 10 of those team members are coming back. You accomplished great things last quarter. Your boss is really happy for you. Everybody in the company is really excited to see what you do this next quarter. But only 10 of those 11 are coming back. Think about the pressure of that 11th spot, of having to add another guy and see if they fit the mold, right? Or can you do this? Can you be what we had last quarter? Can you be what we had last season? That's what's going to be asked of Montana Warren, potentially, is can you be that guy? Can this defense come back next year and not miss a step? Can this defense come back in 2025 and be better than it was last season? Whoever starts at nickel is going to have to make that difference. And I think it will be Montana Warren at the end of the day. If they don't opt to move Keith or Xavion inside and they keep those guys on the perimeter, which I think they will do, then I think Montana Warren is the natural next guy at nickel. A part of Dilly's original first recruiting class. The story has written itself. Let Montana Warren be that guy. Let him take that step. I think he's going to make the jump. He got bigger last offseason, and I think he's going to get better this offseason. Montana Warren, a name to keep an eye on. Still several names left, and we are going to get into Bobby Hurley basketball. I know it's everybody's favorite on the other side of this quick break. Look, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I don't know about you, but sometimes it's difficult just living, right? Existing. It can be expensive, okay? Homes, cars, etc. Maybe you need to buy a home. Maybe you're looking to sell your home and you're having trouble doing it. Well, our friends over at the Carol Royce team are gonna help you out. Whether you're a first-time home buyer or maybe a seasoned pro, buying a home can be tricky, okay? That's why we recommend our friend over at Carol Royce. Look, our real estate market is competitive, but like a great coach, remember, Kenny Dillingham, the Carol Royce team is going to build you a game plan to get you into the perfect home for you. And maybe the best part is the trust that Carol has and the confidence that she has in herself and her team. Carol's so confident that you're going to love your home that if within 18 months you aren't happy with it, the Carol Royce team is going to buy it back, okay? Buy one of Carol's homes and she's going to buy yours for cash. If you're ready to find your dream home, make sure you take that next step. Call Carol Royce or visit Carol online at carolroyceteam.com. That's carolroyceteam.com. Terms and conditions apply. Look, spring training has arrived. Spring football is on the way. There are watch parties. There are a ton of events that we have. So many different opportunities to go out into the community and have fun. Maybe this spring, just maybe, you check out our friends over at Waymo, okay? Catch a ride. Waymo's autonomous ride-hailing service consists entirely of all-electric Jaguar I-Pace vehicles, providing a consistent zero-emission experience for their riders. It is one hell of an experience to be in a Waymo. And look, they do 150,000 trips per week across San Fran, LA, and Phoenix. They've got over 40 million miles of real-world driving experience, which is enough to drive to the moon and back 80 times. Download the Waymo One app and ride today. Guys, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Appreciate everybody taking some time out of their Wednesday to hop on the PHNX Sun Devils show, whether you're watching live, listening after the fact, listening on audio. We appreciate everybody. We genuinely do. And if you know of any Arizona State fans that haven't heard of the PHNX Sun Devils show, well, put them on. Put them on, okay? Because spring football is going to be fun. Remember all the fun that we had as a community not too long ago? In January, late December, all that football season, well, it starts. This is where we build it. We build it here in the spring because we're going to go through all these practices. We're going to talk about every single practice. We're going to talk about all the players. We're going to listen to player interviews, player content, coach content, all of that stuff. And then we're going to look back when the season starts in 2025 and be like, okay, this is where it started. This is where it started. You guys were a part of the OGs, okay? I know Sharon's an OG. BC's an OG. It's guys and girls that were here last season, the season before last, that put up with all of whatever that was. And they made it to the other side. Well, now you guys are a part of the next OG clan here, okay? Spring football, gonna be a lot of fun. And so is the next player that I am adding to our watch list. That is running back Kyson Brown. This running back room is very interesting, right? Kyson Brown, Alton McCaskill, Jason Brown Jr., Kanye Udo. There are so many running backs. Malik Brown. Who's going to be the guy? Who's going to be maybe not the next Cam Scatterboo, but who is going to be the running back to genuinely take over for this Arizona State offense? Because Kenny's offenses usually revolve around the running back, not just at ASU. Look at Oregon. Look at Auburn. Look at Florida State. Look at Memphis. Look at the running backs that they've had. Look at the running back success that they've had with Kenny. It's what the offenses do. They need a back, and they need a good one. Is Kanye the guy? Maybe. Is Kyson Brown the guy? Maybe. Kyson Brown showed a lot of flashes last year. And maybe my favorite part about Kyson Brown last year is the way that he recovered from the year prior. I don't know how many of you guys remember this. Kyson Brown's very first carry at the collegiate level was a loss of yards and a fumble. His very first carry at Arizona State got smacked. Fumbled the ball. And then to have the year he had last year, where there were games where he was getting 5-6 carries a game and he was going for 50, 60 yards. You look at the stat sheet, the box score afterwards, and you were saying, what? This dude's averaging what? 12 yards a carry? Is it the offensive line? Is it the fact that the defense has been just getting pounded by Scatterboo for the last 3 quarters? Pause. Right? Or is it really Kyson Brown? Well, I want to have the answers to those questions this year. Is Kyson Brown the dog that we thought he was last year? I think he is. And I think this running back rotation, because I think it's going to be a rotation, is going to be so dang fun to watch. Right? Ric Flair in the chat saying Brown, that's the wrong Brown. Talk about Jason Brown. Kyson Brown is also good. Well, let's not forget about Malik Brown, right? Brown, and Brown. Law firm in the Arizona State backfield. Okay? Who's going to be the guy? Can Kyson be the speedster that this offense needs in the backfield? Because I think Kanye is more of the traditional 3 down, I'm going to run through you type of back. I think he can do all those things, right? But Kyson was here last year. It means something that he was here last year. Nobody has promised playing time at Arizona State. Kenny has made that very, very clear. So I know a lot of people, myself included, believe that Kanye Udo is going to be the starting running back at Arizona State. That doesn't mean that Kyson Brown is not going to have a role or that he's not going to have an opportunity to be the lead back at Arizona State. There's a reason that Kyson felt inclined to return to ASU in 2025 and not enter the transfer portal. There's a reason for that. There's a reason that Sean Aguano got Kyson Brown to Arizona State in the first place. There's a belief in the size, the strength, the speed, the mentality, the IQ of this kid. You got to take that next step, right? And for Kyson, out of all of these other guys, right, like a Montana, a Crook, a Coleman, it feels like I've been able to point to one thing and just say, hey, like, I want to see the pass rush ability of Jordan Crook. I want to see the vocal leadership of a Myles Rowser. I want to see Malik McClain make plays off the, outside the numbers for Sam Leavitt. For Kyson, it's more so, I just want to see you be you, right? Every year for Kyson so far, it's been, there's never really been any pressure because Scat's been here. He was never going to start with Cam Skattebo here. Never. It just wasn't going to happen. But guess what? Scat's gone. The baton's got to go to somebody else. Is Kyson that guy? Well, if you are, take it, man. Take it. I think he can. I don't know if he will, but I think he has the ability to do so. I'm really, really excited to see this Arizona State backfield, and Kyson Brown is a big reason why. Rick Flair in the chat saying, serious question, how many can you feed with Scat gone? Is there room for 3 running backs? I believe there is to get 5 carries a game. It's a very interesting question, especially based off of eligibility. Hunter Zona in the chat saying, real fans know Blazing Lono Wong is going to be our RB1. If you know, you know. If you know, you know, Hunter Zona. It's a unique question because you look back to last year and what was the realistic rotation? Well, there wasn't really one. It was Cam Skattebo. Kyson Brown will get a few carries here and there, and that was really it. But it's tough to evaluate that, right? Because was the rotation shaken up at all because Scat was just being dominant? Was it maybe switched around a little bit because Raleek wasn't available? But now you got a ton of guys. I think Kanye and Raleek and Kyson all have like clear skill sets going into this year that you can look to and say, okay, these guys are the guys, right? These are the running backs that you'd expect to do something. But then again, you look to Jason Brown Jr., like some of you guys said, and like Kenny has said in the past, when he's in, you can't bring him down. Not just in the one game that he played, but in practice. He makes a difference. So does a redshirt freshman running back get some run in Jason Brown? Maybe. Where's Alt McCaskill fit in all this? Because if he didn't feel like there was an opportunity, then why did he stay? You got 5 running backs here, all of which you can kind of make a case that they should play. You're going to learn all about them in spring. You're going to learn who's the guy. You're going to learn who can take over. Is it Kanye? Is it Kyson? Is it Jason? Is it Alton? Maybe. Is it Blazing Lono Wong? Maybe. We'll find out in 20 days. It's exciting stuff. It's exciting stuff, and that's why I got Kyson Brown on this list. It's going to be very, very interesting to see that running back position group really as a whole. I do want to get to another player on this list back on the defensive side of the ball. Let's go ahead and start talking a little bit about Martell Hughes. Martell Hughes, another fun player, a linebacker, had his big moment at one point last year. I believe a blocked punt for a touchdown for Martell Hughes. That was his moment that he'll remember forever in 2024. But we talked about it a little bit earlier with Jordan Crook, obviously, and the steps that he can maybe take at the linebacker spot. Well, like we said, you're losing to Caleb McCullough. Martell Hughes was originally a part of one of the initial classes that Kenny had here. Okay? One of the very first commits for Kenny, at least in terms of the recruiting class. So does he take that step? I think there is something that happens in college football, and maybe I notice it more at Arizona State than I've noticed it covering any other schools, is there are players that they hit a fork in the road at a certain point. Maybe it tends to be their sophomore, junior year of, hey, are you going to turn into your potential? Is your potential going to take you to what you can be? Or are you going to take the opposite side, and are you going to always be a depth guy? Are you going to always be somebody that's in there for a snap or two when somebody else needs a breather? Not that that's a bad thing. Every team needs depth. But are you going to be the depth guy, or are you going to be the guy that realistically can be everything that everybody thinks you can be? And I think that's what we're going to see from Martell Hughes this year. Can you be a true starting linebacker at Arizona State. Not that that's going to happen this year, but I think this is where you're going to learn, can he do that when Cyrus is gone? Can he do that when Keshawn's gone? Can he do it when Jordan Crook's gone? Okay, because we talk about all the returners this year. There are a number of guys that will not be at Arizona State after this season because of eligibility restrictions, because of NFL draft stuff, etc. Martell Hughes, I think, is at that point where, okay, fork in the road. Am I going to go be a dog or am I going to be a depth guy? That question needs to be answered in spring ball. And I think it will be. Another guy that I think is really going to benefit from an entire offseason in the strength and conditioning program, get bigger, add 10, 15 pounds to you. This guy is already a pretty tall linebacker, right? Go be the guy. Go show that you can be a linebacker in coverage, that you can line up in man with a tight end, right? Go show that you can blitz, that you can come off the edge. Go show that you're not a liability in the box. Go demonstrate all of these things. And you're going to have the opportunity to do it every day in practice against one of the best quarterbacks in college football next year. That is going to really, really elevate, I think, the play of this defense. And that's where some of these younger guys, the young corners that I brought up, Tony Lewis and Kuba, etc., you're going to learn a lot about them. And they're going to learn a lot about themselves going up against Sam every single day in practice. Because a lot of them didn't have to do that last year. Why? Because they were second, third team, fourth team, whatever, going up against different quarterbacks. Well, now if you're presented in those roles, you get to go against the guy in Sam Leavitt that's probably going to be a first-round pick. You get to do those things. I want to see Martell Hughes do it. I want to see him out there with the rest of that defense. Do you get run over? Is it too fast? Is the pace of the game too much for you? Or are you a ball player? Are you a guy that's a Division I football player at a college football playoff level football program, and you could take that next step? You could take the fork in the road where you truly maximize your potential as a player. That's where I think Martell Hughes is going to be fun to watch when spring football gets going. Look, 3 more players on our list. 3 more. 2 on offense, 1 on defense. I'm curious if there's anybody in that chat that has any guesses. If you have any guesses to who the 3 players are, and if you guys have any thoughts on Bobby Hurley and the Arizona State Sun Devils being locked into that 15 seed in the Big 12 tournament. I'll get to all those comments, and we will wrap up the show right after our final break. Look, I was sad last night. I was sad. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Arizona State lost. But I was almost more sad because we didn't get to do our post-game show here in Studio K, presented by our friends over at Circle K. We had to go in the minibar. It's just nothing like Circle K and Studio K. Guys, look, honestly, I love Studio K. I really do. But the reason I stop at Circle K so often is because they help me save money. Like I said earlier, it's expensive to be alive, okay? It really is. But Circle K, they're giving you guys a ton of opportunities to save with their free membership program called Inner Circle. It's super easy to download and get enrolled. Literally just go to the App Store, download the app, enter your phone number and email, and boom. That's realistically all you got to do. The next time you pull up to the pump, you type in your phone number and you're going to start saving on those deals. But Anthony, what deals are you talking about? Well, how about saving 25 cents per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups? Not to mention, there is a ton of other member-exclusive discounts. You just got to download it, sign up, and check it out. Join Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit CircleK.com for details. Look, Eric Ruby is off today. But I know our friend Rubus. I know what he's doing today. He's sitting at home enjoying his day off and indulging with our friends over at Pure Edibles. Look, Pure Edibles, they were founded in Arizona and they're available at 130 dispensaries statewide. Pure gummies, they're not covered in sugar like all their competitors, but don't get it twisted. They still taste like candy. They're a full-fledged candy company offering gummies. They got their Kicks. It's their version of Starburst. They got chews, their soft candies like caramel, and hard candies. And Pure Effects, they're clearly listed on each 10 so you know exactly what effects you guys can expect. Go find yourself some Pure Edibles products from over from one of the over 130 dispensaries across Arizona. Will in the chat saying B-ball is a snooze right now. It is something. I don't know if a snooze is even the right word to call it. What would you call it, Captain Redbeard? I know that you are a believer, but what would you call it?
I would call it, it's entertaining, but it leaves you a little bit dissatisfied at the end.
It's like a movie that is a really good movie or show that's like you've seen it, so you know how it ends every time, but you're still entertained.
Yeah.
For the right or wrong reasons, right? Like Arizona State basketball is entertaining right now for all of the wrong reasons, it feels like.
Yeah.
And you know how it's going to end. They put up 100 points and they still lost yesterday to Arizona. So it's tough. It is what it is. Will in the chat taking a couple guesses for Tier, Sample, or Bram Walden on offense in either of those sophomore corners for the defensive player. Trust me, I'm excited to see all of those guys. I really am. But none of those guys are on my list. Not one is on my list. But let's go ahead and do the next member of our watch list. Back to the offensive line, Jalen Klemm. Jalen Klemm, a name that I feel like hasn't been said and uttered around the Sun Devil community in what feels like a long time, right? Remember when he transferred from Washington and everybody thought that Arizona State was getting a starting left tackle from the Washington Huskies? Remember that? And then he just missed the entire season because he was dealing with some stuff, right? Well, he's back. And now you got to see it. I want to see the dude that was coming over from Washington. A dude that was a part of the Joe Moore Offensive Line of the Year. The award winners at Washington. The best offensive line in college football. I want to see that. This is a team in Arizona State that I mentioned off the top is returning 4 of 5 starters on the offensive trenches. Dude was in the national championship game, like Hunter Zona said. Do you bring that caliber? Are you that type of offensive lineman? Do you belong in that pedigree? If you are, show me. Show me in the spring. Take one of those starting spots. Be the starting left tackle. Be the starting right tackle. I don't care. I don't care where you start. But you were a part of the best offensive line in college football at one point. You went through what you went through, and now you're back. Be the guy. That's it. Be the guy. You were a high-level transfer from a really good school. Let's see it translate. That's what I need to see. I need to see it translate in the spring. Otherwise, it's just another transfer. Just another depth guy, right? Need Jalen Klemm to be a difference maker. And that's what Will's saying. Klemm is a difference maker on the line, especially at left tackle where you need that difference maker to shine. Guess what? You got your quarterback, Sam Leavitt. He's the dude. Need to protect him. Did a pretty good job last year. Doesn't hurt to add some insurance. Jalen Klemm can be that insurance, that left tackle spot. Just got to see it in the spring. Maybe he's got to put on a little bit more weight, potentially. But Jalen Klemm, another player to keep an eye out on in 20 days when spring ball starts. Hunter's on the chat saying, I didn't hear the whole list, so I don't know if it was said already, but I'm really excited for CJ Fight's next step. CJ Fight, man, I mean, there are a few players as fun as CJ Fight to just chat with at Arizona State. Dude wants to be a Sun Devil. He is going to be a Sun Devil long term, and it feels like he's going to continue to grow year over year at Arizona State. You saw the steps that he took last year, especially in the offseason. I think this year is going to be another really, really fun, big year for CJ Fight. Prince Dorbah, defensive side of the ball. We're not even going to dance around it. Prince had a bad year last year. Down year. I was a big believer that Prince Dorbah going into last year was going to be the best pass rusher on this team. I was wrong. I'll say it. He dealt with injuries last year. Tough thing to do. From realistically the entire year, he was dealing with injuries. From spring ball, or not spring ball, excuse me, from Camp T, Captain Redbeard's favorite place to go, all the way through a couple midpoints in the season to the Big 12 championship game, there was a moment. Like, he's dealt with injury. Over the offseason, though, he got bigger. He got faster. Dude out there at spring football looks like a behemoth. He should be a dominant pass rusher. Should be. You came back this year. A lot of the pass rushers came back. And Arizona State didn't add a ton in the portal for pass rushers. You got Clayton Smith, you got Dorbah, you got Elijah O'Neal. Clayton Smith had a good year last year. Elijah O'Neal had a good year last year. Prince Dorbah left a little to be desired. I still believe in the kid. Absolutely. I still think he could be a dominant pass rusher, just with his size and his speed. It's a rare combination. You had some time to get healthy. Close that book. Turn to the next chapter, if you will, which is the 2025 season. And revert back to what we saw the year prior to last. Where you're making plays on third down. Where you're collapsing the pocket. Where you're forcing quarterbacks to make ridiculous plays because you get there too quick. That's what you need to see from Prince. I need to see that from Prince this year. Right? Get back to what we saw. Otherwise, you're going to see a lot more Elijah O'Neal than you are Prince Dorbah in 2025. That's just the fact of the matter. We got one final name. One final name on the watch list. And I don't know how people are going to feel about it. But I don't care. Sam Leavitt, the starting quarterback for the Arizona State Sun Devils, is on our watch list of a player who can make a jump. Okay? And I'm not going to name names in this office. But there was a conversation that happened yesterday in regards to Sam Leavitt. And there were people that were saying, well, I could see him regress. I could see him take a step back. Right? Could you? Because I think anything's possible, right? Rubis sat in this very chair and said it last night. Anything's possible. Sam Leavitt led this team to a college football playoff appearance in 2024. Again, think about that. Arizona State had a redshirt freshman quarterback lead them to the college football playoffs. The expectation is that he is a first-round pick when he goes to the NFL draft. The expectation is Arizona State wins the Big 12 again. Literally, that's the expectation. They're the betting favorite to win the Big 12 again. The expectations have gone from here to here. So the quarterback play needs to go from here to here. Sam Leavitt needs to elevate his game. Take that jump. I firmly believe that Sam Leavitt is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I firmly believe that he will be a first-round pick when it's all said and done. He's got everything you could ask for in a quarterback. Hunter Zona, I'm not naming names. He can be that guy. I want to see it. Dude's got a fire to him. He's got a fire to him. And I'm not putting the college football playoff loss does not fall on Sam Leavitt. And anybody that says it does is ridiculous. But think about what he's been thinking about. I want you to remove yourself from your own body for a second and just be Sam Leavitt. After the entire season that he had, they got to the college football playoff and they were a play away. A 4th and 13 on the defense, didn't get it. The offense had an opportunity, didn't get it. But how did that playoff game end? Do you remember? Or were you checked out? The last thing you remember was that 4th and 13. The last thing you remember was that Gunnar Helm touchdown. But the last play of that game was a Sam Leavitt interception in double overtime. And I don't say that to knock him. I say that because that's what he's been thinking about since the season ended. Was that play? Does that play haunt you? Does that play define you? Or is that the play that you take and you elevate your game? Think about Joe Burrow, right? And again, bear with me here. I'm not comparing the two. But Joe Burrow had a moment before that ridiculous college football season that he turned in, where they played UCF. They played UCF at State Farm Stadium in the Fiesta Bowl. And UCF, pretty sure, embarrassed them. Joe Burrow got absolutely mollywopped on a play. And that lives in college football history. That could be Sam Leavitt's play. That interception against Texas. Have that be the moment where you take your jump. He could do that in spring. I believe it. Guys, for those of you watching on television, the party always continues over at gophnx.com. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Let's chat ASU hoops in just a second. But just to recap, all of the names that we have on our watch list. Prince Dorbah, Sam Leavitt, Jalen Klemm, Martell Hughes, Montana Warren, Jordan Crook, Kyson Brown, Malik McClain, Myles Rowser, Ben Coleman. Cactus Johnny in the chat saying, I went to that game. LSU won. I couldn't remember who won that game. I did end up going to that game as well. It feels like it was an eternity ago at that point. But there was a play, and if you haven't seen it, look it up. Joe Burrow against UCF. Look it up. There is a play where he gets absolutely just stone cold, knocked out pretty much, it feels like. And from that play on, Joe Burrow was untouchable. He was a god at the quarterback position in college football. Maybe that's Sam Leavitt. Just maybe. Maybe that could be his moment. I'm not saying he's Joe Burrow. I just want to make that very, very, very clear. But go have a moment. That's what I'm saying. All right. You ready for some Bobby Ball, Captain Redbeard? Screw it. I didn't expect us to go over an hour, but here we are, right? Bobby Hurley and the Arizona State Sun Devils locked into the number 15 seed in the Big 12 tournament. That's right. The game on Saturday against Texas Tech means nothing. Means absolutely nothing for this team. It's not going to affect their seeding. It could affect potentially some other higher seeding type of stuff. But Hurley and company, the potential matchups include Kansas State, Utah, Cincinnati, and I believe West Virginia. Those teams, I believe, are all still in play for Arizona State to play. Again, the Sun Devils are the number 15 seed, meaning they'll play the number 10 seed. That game is going to occur next Tuesday at 4 p.m. We will be doing a post-game show for that game, so mark your calendars. Win, lose, or draw. We'll be there. Kansas State, Utah, or Cincinnati. Is there a team out of those three that I listed, Captain, that you would almost prefer Arizona State play more than the others?
I felt like when we played Kansas State last, they did not look good.
Agreed.
Like, I think they would be – I haven't kept up with their last few games, but they seem like a pretty good matchup. Like, we played them pretty well in that game.
Yeah.
That was definitely one of our better games of the season, actually, it felt like. And, yeah, I mean, we beat West Virginia earlier in the year. I don't know. I would choose K-State right now.
I don't hate that. Right now, Kansas State, again, Arizona State beat Kansas State the last time these two teams played. And realistically, other than that, like you look at the last 6 games for Kansas State, their last game, they beat Colorado by 9. We know Colorado is locked into the 16 seed. Before that, they lost to UCF by 4. They lost to Arizona State by 12. They lost to Utah by 5. They lost to BYU by 15. Like those are their last 5 games. A win against Colorado and losses all the way through. I don't hate that matchup. I don't hate a matchup against Kansas State. I also don't hate a matchup against Utah. Utah is a really, really interesting team. I know Arizona State already lost to Utah once this season, but Utah is just not a good basketball team. They're not a good basketball program. Not that I'm saying that Arizona State are world beaters or anything out here, but the 15 seed to 10 seed matchups almost feel pretty favorable for Arizona State to play a team like a Kansas State, to play a team like a Utah. Sun Devils haven't seen Cincinnati, I don't believe, this season. So that could certainly be something that's maybe a little bit more interesting.
They played Cincinnati.
They did play Cincinnati?
Yeah, and lost.
Did I remove that game? I must have deleted it from my memory. Yeah,
that's the one that we talked about that you didn't remember.
I deleted it from my memory. That's exactly what happened. And Cincinnati at one point in the season, I guess, was ranked, which is a crazy thing to think about. Cincinnati. Let's see what the Bearcats have done lately. They're 17-12 in conference, currently 12th in the Big 12. As of late, their most recent game, they lost to Houston on the road. Understandable loss. Before that, beat Baylor, beat TCU, lost to West Virginia, lost to Iowa State. So they've played in a lot of really competitive games as of late. Jizzle James, we know what this guy does. So I don't want to see Jizzle James in a tournament format by any means. I'll take Kansas State or Utah, but that's just me. Let us know in the chat who you guys want to see. Cactus Johnny saying Kansas State. Will saying playing Utah would be ideal. Hunter Zona saying the prophecy is in. Jaden Quayton's going to get healthy. We're going to win 5 straight and be dancing. I mean, dreaming is free. Dreaming is free.
He knows ball.
Some people just know ball. I guess I don't. Guys, that is going to do it for today's episode of the PHNX Sun Devils show. A quick, breezy hour and 5 minutes. Hope everybody enjoyed the content today. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. And if you enjoyed today's content, give us a follow at PHNX_Sun Devils. What are you doing? Give me a follow at Anthony_Totri. You could follow the man not here again. That is Rubis at Eric Ruby. That's Eric with a K. You can follow the captain of this beautiful vessel, Captain Redbeard, at K Coop Sports. Tomorrow, it'll be Ruby and Captain Redbeard. I am going to be out at the ASU facilities talking with some coaches. Hopefully, I will be back in time to chat a little bit with everybody. We'll get some more sound from the ASU assistants. So definitely stay locked in for tomorrow's show at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. No show Friday. We'll be back Saturday for a post-game show. So a lot of fun stuff. I hope everybody has a beautiful rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow. In the meantime, go Devils. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.